This video is kindly sponsored by Audible. Visit audibletrial.com/Raven ASMR or simply click the link in the description to start your 1-month free trial membership today. Hello there. I hope that you are doing so well. I am doing rather lovely. So, I'm sure you've heard the phrase, this smells like old people, at least once in your life, right? I'm also sure that you knew the exact smell that that person was referring to when they said it. I don't even know how to explain the smell. It's like that musky, stale, kind of greasy smell. You know what I'm talking about, but did you know that old people smell is actually a real thing? Of course it's a real thing because obviously we smell it, right? But what I mean is, it's actually a topic of discussion. There have been real studies conducted on this thing called aging odor. And just a disclaimer, I don't mean any harm when I say old people smell. I feel so bad when I say it, but I promise you I don't mean anything by it. I'm just saying that so that you know what I'm talking about. As a matter of fact, researchers say that this smell is actually not an offensive smell at all. Really, the only reason it's considered to be offensive in the first place is due to the fact that the smell is coming from an elderly person. That's what turns people off about it the most, not the actual smell itself. You get what I'm saying? It kind of breaks my heart a little. They're just sweet elderly people. They can't help how they smell, and I mean that quite literally. Now, I'm no scientist, so I really don't know how to put this into words, but this smell that we speak of, in very simple terms, is a result of the skin basically just getting older. The protection that the skin gets from antioxidants decreases as you age. This causes some type of oxidation to happen in the skin, which produces that old smell or aging odor. I would rather call it that. Maybe that makes sense, maybe not, but just like a newborn baby has a very distinct smell that's different than the smell that a toddler has. A toddler has a different smell than an adolescent, and so on. Elderly people also have their own unique smell. I've never thought of it that way, but it's interesting. Anyway, I just didn't know it was a real thing, this old people smell, but it is, and I just wanted to tell you about it. I also want to tell you about something called the liking gap. The liking gap is a phenomenon that basically states that people probably like you a lot more than you actually think they do. Liking gap refers to the disconnect between what we think people think about us versus what they actually think about us. Studies have shown that a good amount of people feel as if they don't really make a great impression on people, especially after they've just met a person or even for a long time after that. But it turns out, majority of the time, that's actually far from the truth. While these claims were being studied, people were placed, if you will, in situations where they would meet a new person for the first time ever, whether that be a first-time college roommate, random people attending a workshop of some sort all together, just different settings and scenarios where they would encounter strangers, right? Well, after their interactions with each other for the first time, they would be asked how they felt about the other person and how they feel the other person felt about them. Practically everyone's answer would be, yeah, I really enjoyed speaking with this person and being around them. I'm not sure if they feel the same way about me though. I feel I could have made a better impression than I did. But the other person actually really enjoyed the encounter they had with them as well, and thought that they might have been the ones who didn't make a great impression themselves. That's crazy. So really, the truth is quite a few of us just have some insecurity issues, and we're really not that bad. People love you and you don't even know it. Isn't that something? Okay, call me slow because I didn't know this at all until the other day, but something I've always wondered was, why in the world don't school buses have seatbelts? I mean, to me, it just makes sense for them to have seatbelts just like a regular car, especially since these buses are transporting our precious little babies, big kids too, but apparently there are quite a few reasons as to why school buses don't need seatbelts. For one, school buses are just built different, obviously. School buses are very much larger and heavier than a regular vehicle, right? Therefore, in the event that a school bus is in a crash, the force of the crash would be distributed throughout the bus in a different way than it would in a regular vehicle. And think about it, school buses tend to move way slower than a regular vehicle as well. So imagine a regular vehicle running into this big, heavy, slow-moving monster. The vehicle would do more harm to itself than to the bus. Also, school buses are pretty tall, so if they were to be hit by a regular car, that vehicle would most likely end up lodged under the bus, if that makes sense. So there really wouldn't be too much force delivered to the people inside the bus. Buses are also built to withstand rollovers better than a regular vehicle would. They have very protective seating as well. They're tall, super thick, and they're actually shock absorbent. And apparently, wearing a seatbelt during a crash on the bus would actually do more harm than good. After some school bus crash tests were done, it was determined that seatbelts would likely decrease the possibility of getting a head injury while increasing the risk of getting a neck injury and possibly abdominal injuries as well. Another good reason school buses don't have seatbelts is so that the passengers on the bus can evacuate quickly. To add to all of this, what time would the bus driver have to make sure that every one of these kids is in a seatbelt and stays in the seatbelt the whole time? That's the gotcha. Nevertheless, a lot of people still believe that school buses should have seatbelts, no matter how many safety features are already built into the bus itself. They feel seatbelts would just be an extra layer of protection. Okay, so back in 1907 at the Hammerstein Roof Garden above the Victoria Theater in New York City, there was this lady who went by the name Sober Sue, who would perform this rather simple yet mysterious act. She was very famously known as the girl who never laughed. So basically what would happen was the theater would offer $100 to anyone who could make Sober Sue laugh. Simple enough, right? So all types of people would show up to take a shot at making her laugh. They would tell jokes, make funny faces, literally anything they could think of that would make a human being laugh. But not once did Sue crack a smile, no matter how funny the audience's attempts actually were. There were even professional comedians who came to the theater to try their luck. They still could not get Sober Sue to react. Literally no one could make her laugh. It was the strangest thing. After she had been doing the act for so long and literally everyone failed the challenge, people started saying that something just isn't right here. How in the world is it that no one can make this lady laugh? Some people started to speculate that it was possibly because she was either deaf or partially blind, so she wasn't able to hear or see what they were doing properly, right? Which would make it easier for her not to react, but that turned out not to be the case. Y'all, tell me why it was later revealed that the reason Sober Sue never laughed no matter what was because her facial muscles were paralyzed. So, quite literally, it was impossible for her to laugh. I want to laugh, but it's not funny. I kind of want to be mad about this too. Now, the manager of the theater, William Hammerstein, he knew that her facial muscles were paralyzed. He knew that no one would ever be able to move Sober Sue, no matter what they did. It was impossible. So he allowed the act to go on for a while, which in turn brought more and more traffic into his theater, which would have been a really good thing for him, right? And two, he had all of these famous comedians coming through, unknowingly giving everyone a free show just by trying to make Sue laugh, which is exactly what William wanted, right? While he's in the back, raking in the bag, knowing good and well these people will never win the challenge. That is just so not fair. I tell you what though, everyone who tried that challenge, they were pissed after finding out what was really going on, especially the comedians. After basically being conned into doing free shows, a lot of them really weren't cool with William after that. As far as Sober Sue though, not much is known about her other than these acts that she was performing at the theater, but her name would continue to circulate long after she stopped performing. Yeah, that happened. Did you know that in Japan, whenever a person is violent or when a person is very drunk in public, instead of the police getting violent back with them or pulling a gun on them or anything like that, they take what is called a Japanese futon, which is basically a really thick sheet or quilted sleeping pad. They literally take the person and wrap them up in the futon like a burrito. When they take them to the station and allow the person to calm down or sober up while they're wrapped up. First of all, do you know how tickled I would be if someone wrapped me up in a burrito because I'm mad? Because girl, what even is this? I'd only be wrapped up for about 2 minutes before they decide to let me out because the fact that I'm a burrito would instantly trip me out. I'm sure I wouldn't be mad anymore after that. I would feel absolutely ridiculous. Okay, so I've actually spoken a couple of times about some of the very bizarre burial requests that people have had throughout history. There's another one I don't think I've mentioned before, and I still don't know how to feel about it. So most of us are very familiar with or have at least heard of Marilyn Monroe, right? Very beautiful and talented actress and model here in the US. She practically had the whole world giving her heart eyes, okay? Everyone loved Marilyn and they still do. Sadly, she passed away back in 1962 of an apparent overdose, which is a whole thing within itself. But she was buried in a crypt at Westwood Village Memorial Park Cemetery in Los Angeles, California. Now, like I said, Marilyn had hard eyes on her from all over, and even after her death, people remained in love with her. So much so that some people even planned their afterlife around Marilyn. A man by the name of Richard Poncher loved Marilyn so much that he apparently went to great lengths to purchase the crypt right on top of Marilyn's. But get this though, his wish was to be buried in the crypt above Marilyn, but he wanted to be buried face down so that he could stare at Marilyn always. He literally wanted to spend eternity on top of her. He even told his wife, Elsie Poncher, if I croak, if you don't put me upside down over Marilyn, I'll haunt you for the rest of your life. And when Richard passed away in 1986, he was buried right on top of Marilyn so that he could spend eternity with her, just like he wanted. Happy camper. Until 23 years later, when his wife got him moved and sold the crypt so that she could pay off the mortgage for her house in Beverly Hills. I should not be laughing at that, I know, but it really did tickle me a little bit. How you just gonna move him like that? She was like, forget that. 23 years is long enough. I gotta pay this house off, honey. Richard Poncher wasn't the only person who wanted to spend eternity with Marilyn. The one and only Hugh Hefner, founder of Playboy, was rather fond of Marilyn as well. Back in 1992, Hef spent $75,000 to secure the crypt right next to Marilyn for himself. He said that spending an eternity next to Marilyn was just too sweet to pass up. So when he passed away in 2017, he was laid to rest next to the very first playmate, as some people like to call her. Child, that's a whole nother story within itself too, okay? We might talk about that a little later, but anyway. So Auntie Anne's just released their first perfume. So exciting. And yes, I do mean Auntie Anne's, the pretzel company. They literally released a pretzel scented perfume just a few days ago. And as of August 14th, 2024, it's available for purchase online. The perfume is called Need, like kneading a ball of pretzel dough. And according to Auntie Anne's website, Need is a perfume with a warm, buttery, and slightly sweet scent of hot and handmade pretzels. This tantalizing scent should come with a warning that you will smell good enough to eat. Be the first to experience it in our August 13th pop-up in New York City, or check back here August 14th to purchase online. Now, when I first saw this, I totally thought it was a joke. It just can't be real. Like, why in the world would anyone want to smell like a pretzel? That's crazy. But then I thought about it. People like smelling like strawberry pound cake. People like smelling like brown butter sugar cookie latte, pumpkin cinnamon cheesecake bites, honey roasted marshmallow pancakes, Fruity Loops with sweetened almond milk undertones. Okay, I'm done. But yeah, people enjoy smelling like all types of stuff. Who's to say that some people don't want to smell like a warm, handmade pretzel, Raven? But anywho, if you're interested in smelling like a pretzel, I suggest you hurry over to Auntie Anne's website before they sell out, for real, if they haven't already. I am sure there are probably tons of people who are trying to get their hands on it. As a matter of fact, I kind of want to order it now. I'm just curious as to what it smells like. Maybe I should wear it to work one day just to see if anyone notices or picks up on what the scent actually is. Let me know if you're interested in purchasing this, or if you even went to the pop-up shop in New York City. What does it smell like? I want to know all about it. But speaking of pound cake, I just learned that the reason pound cake is called pound cake is because the original pound cake recipe called for 1 pound of each ingredient used to make the cake. So that was a pound of flour, a pound of sugar, a pound of butter, and a pound of eggs. Now I'm curious to know how that cake would turn out, so I might just try it. And did you know that German chocolate cake is actually not German like the European country at all? The name actually comes from the inventor of the chocolate that the cake is made with, Sam German. German chocolate cake originated in Dallas, Texas. Very much American. Okay, I'm gonna make this one short, but I now know that some people like to take getting revenge to the extreme. I don't mean eating the last slice of your brother's favorite pizza type of revenge. I mean, major, major stuff. And I literally say this all the time, but I cannot believe this stuff happens in real life. In 2001, a man named Vitek Bowden got rejected for a job he had applied for in Australia, right? Well, he decided he wanted revenge. So he literally hacked into the system of that company that rejected him. And this was the Maroochy Shire Queensland Computerized Waste Management System, to be exact. Waste. Like sewage. He literally hacked into the sewage system. After hacking into it, he caused the system to spill around 200,000 gallons of raw sewage all over local parks, creeks, rivers, and apparently even all over a Hyatt Regency Hotel's property. This killed tons of wildlife and fish, and it turned all of the waters black. All of the locals were just stuck smelling that stinky smell for weeks. Yeah, just thought I'd share that with you. Now, before I end this video, I just want to talk about our sponsor for today, Audible. Listen, growing up, I used to love reading books, right? I must have been the weirdest child ever now that I think about it, because I've never met a child who would rather stay inside and read a book than to go outside and play with other children. That was me though. I always had my nose in a book somewhere. But now that I'm older, I have fallen off badly. I don't read books nearly as much as I would like to. I just don't have the time that it takes to actually sit there and read a book anymore. But with Audible, which is my personal favorite audiobook service, I'm able to get back into my little book reading corner without actually being stuck in my book reading corner. I can easily pop on and listen to some of my favorite titles while I cook, clean, go for my daily walks, all types of stuff without having to stop my day to sit down and read. Don't get me wrong, I do still enjoy a good paperback when I do have a little bit of downtime. But Audible allows me to keep my brain going and entertained while still getting stuff done. And they offer tons and tons of genres and titles to fit your own personal taste. Right now, I'm listening to a novel called None of This Is True. It was actually recommended to me by a friend, but so far I'm really liking it. It's a psychological thriller, lots of twists and turns, that's right up my alley. And it feels good to be read to for a change. The narrators do a phenomenal job at bringing the stories to life. Sometimes I feel like I'm sitting there watching everything play out in front of my eyes in real time. Not even kidding. If you're interested, you can start your very own 1-month trial membership for free. Just go to audibletrial.com/Raven ASMR to start your free trial today. The link will also be in the description box below. That is all that I have for this video. I want to thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed it. And I hope that you have a great night, day, whatever you're having. I am out of here. See you later.